After my Pixar video, I've decided to do the same thing with Dreamworks, so I present to you my top 5 Dreamworks films, starting with Puss in the Boots. I am going to stop talking like that now, that is quite offensive. As a spin-off of a sequel, which is a prequel, there was reason to expect this to be lackluster, but it seriously simply isn't. The film revolves around Puss wearing, oh my god, spoiler, boots! While undertaking a heist with a feline love interest and a talking egg. Finally, a story I can identify with. It mostly avoids forced or obnoxious pop culture references, shows excitingly choreographed action, unique and simple visual humour, an understandable and rich story, surprisingly complicated characters, and well-established relationships, crisp animation, and a charming aesthetic with a well-suited score. Obviously, there's a capable cast led by Antonio Banderas, and as a token animated egg, Zach Galifianakis gives his most believable performance to date. The main strength of this film is the lack of reliance on Shrek. Aside from fairy tale references that feel necessary, the film is surprisingly fresh and self-contained. The only slight criticism is some of the jokes feel obvious. 2 villains were slightly underwritten, and there was opportunity to involve more action sequences. My lack of puns about Humpty Dumpty has shown more restraint than I ever thought I had. Well, that's excellent. Oh no. Next up, Sinbad, or as I like to call it, Sin Really Good actually. They couldn't fit that on the posters though. Sinbad has to embark on a quest against a goddess to save a childhood friend, accompanied by the friend's feisty fiancé. Firstly, the film looks amazing, to the point it's surprising so few recent animated films attempt a similar style. The characters are complicated and their morality is surprisingly well examined, with a strong cast featuring Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's Welsh by the way, represent! We're not related. Well, I don't think. The story's engaging and layered, there's excitement, tense moments, well-timed comedy, and a balanced sense of imagination. It's surprising how under-discussed this one is, given how good it looks, and how well it captures high seas adventure fantasy. My one criticism is that occasionally Sinbad's too much of a jerk, like they've forgotten the lovable part of the lovable rogue. Sinbad is highly recommended, and if you're in the UK, it's on Netflix. Although maybe not at the time of upload, Netflix always gets rid of their good stuff. Now for How to Train Your Dragon! Nobody in the film sounds like that. A young Viking discovers dragons are wrongly hunted, as well as his own surprising communication talents. An exciting fantasy that brilliantly places familiar tropes, like an awkward teenage hero, in an uncommon and vivid setting. There's a brilliant sense of style and quietly rich world building, from the technology and customs to the fashion. Every opportunity for visual flourish is used, mainly in the dragon's endlessly creative or charming designs. In spite of the humour, there's genuine conflict and consequence, with hints of justifiable darkness, brilliantly constructed dramatic scenes that encourage real sympathy for the hero, and Toothless, the lead dragon. Well-established relationships and captivating action. How to Train Your Dragon is an immersive fantasy film with strong coming-of-age elements and valid morals on misunderstanding. My only real issue is that the teenage and adult characters, confusingly, have totally different accents, which makes no sense. I mean, dragons don't make any sense either, but I can at least see why they were in the plot. Couldn't they just pick one accent to commit, making the characters all American or all Scottish like the adults, or even generally British might have added more uniqueness? I'm just bitter they didn't cast me as Toothless, I think. My teeth were too visible apparently. He's an animated dragon, they were just making excuses. Anyway, anyone who appreciates animation or fantasy who's yet to see this is strongly encouraged to. Prince of Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the adopted son of the pharaoh discovers his biological family are Hebrew slaves. The film respectfully adapts biblical stories, streamlining the tale of Moses to become energetic, theatrical, and understandable to numerous demographics. Prince of Egypt tastefully and artistically embraces tragic, sinister, or mature concepts, which for me is a major strength in any animated family film. Once again, the amazing and committed artwork is on display with a stunningly performed, genuine soundtrack, incredibly immersive, well-paced dramatic moments, extremely strong character development that means even the villains are given empathy and depth that more pandering family films would avoid. There are moments of unforced relief, a well-chosen cast including Ralph Fiennes, Michelle Pfeiffer and Val Kilmer, and important, unpatronisingly delivered lessons about the dangers of pride and bonds of family. Prince of Egypt is an impeccably polished, all-encompassing, moving piece of animation that I struggled to find legitimate criticism for. other than that maybe the final musical number is slightly longer than necessary, which wouldn't even be noticeable if the rest of the film wasn't so perfectly timed. Even though I do enjoy one Dreamworks film slightly more, on a critical, objective level this is probably their best. Also, I said Ralph Fiennes, his name's actually Ray Fiennes. Sorry mate. And now for number 1. The Road to El Dorado. 2 Spanish conmen pose as gods to the civilians of the golden city known as, oh my god, spoilers, El Dorado. One of my favourite films of all time, this entry delivers in one key area the others arguably don't as much, depicting a friendship that feels genuine and relatable. Even if you and your friends aren't Spanish or aren't conmen or aren't even men, there's a recognisable dynamic. Con man. My name's Connor, should I make a reference? No, I'm better than that. The film expertly shows a unique, invest in wish fulfillment rags to riches adventure story thanks to a well-written comic duo voiced by Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline. All important characters are textured, there's surprising plot developments, historical references and captivating fantasy. The humour is rapid fire with simple effectiveness. The negatives of the hero's situations are addressed, and what drama the film does use has a rightful place. It deserves praise for justifiably using the maintaining a lie as a major plot point. Elton John's soundtrack is well performed and naturally weaves into the film so it never feels indulgent. A memorable number is entitled It's Tough to Be a God. Something I can confirm from experience is true. Also, as with the other 2D animated Dreamworks films mentioned, the artwork is stunning. Yep. The only minor details that for me don't even remotely tarnish the film is how jarring and outdated moments of CGI look, and how one of the film's antagonists is quite bland. This film and the other 4 I mentioned are all currently available on the UK Netflix, so that's the place you want to go for all of your Dreamworks needs. Netflix. After that short plug, I request free membership for life. It's not gonna happen, is it? Thanks for watching my 5 favourite Dreamworks films video. For anyone vaguely interested, I'll leave the link to 2 similar videos I made. Please leave your favourite Dreamworks films in the comments below, and if you also prefer Puss in Boots to the Shrek films, please tell me. I'm starting to worry that it might actually be illegal in most countries.